Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe. Sunday's horror show at Extreme Rules at AOL.com pay-per-view didn't just have a hardcore theme, but also the consistent structure of great in-ring wrestling, weird or stupid finish. One of which was Rey Mysterio versus Seth Rollins in an eye-for-an-eye match that saw Rey's eye get extracted from its socket and Seth throwing up. I've been meaning to talk to you both about that. You might want to lay low for a while. But while many thought that finish was terrible, it could have been even cornier. According to PW Insider, the original plan on the week of the pay-per-view was to use CGI, or in this case, CGI. Kind of sounds the same when you say it out loud, actually. Works better written down. With an entire sequence that would have seen Mysterio's eye pop out. Apparently the finish was already filmed, but Vince McMahon, who was very hands-on with the eye-for-an-eye match production, hated the look of the effect and the sequence, so it was removed from the final broadcast. Instead, they went for Rey holding a fake prop eye, and he's gonna puke! So the finish didn't look so bad. Bullet dodge there! Rey losing the match and his eye was reportedly a way for WWE to possibly write him out of the promotion if he doesn't re-sign, as he's been working without a contract for a few months now. Another Raw star who's long been reported to leave, however, got a much nicer send-off. WrestlingNews.co is reporting that Kairi Sane is now done with WWE after yesterday's TV taping, following her victory over SmackDown Women's Champion Bayley on last night's Raw. Why couldn't you book her like that when she was staying with the company? Kairi will be leaving WWE to return to Japan to be with her husband and remains on good terms with WWE, with the door open for any future appearances, especially when the company tours Japan. Natalya seemingly wished Kairi well, posting a picture of her and Sane on Instagram with the caption, "Thank you, Kairi Sane. Anchor emoji." With WWE taping multiple episodes yesterday, Kairi could still appear for Friday's SmackDown or next week's Raw. But someone who definitely won't be appearing anytime soon is Randy Orton's manager Ric Flair, who was noticeably absent on last night's Raw main event between Orton and The Big Show, even with the TV graphics continually advertising Flair in Orton's corner. This may be due to coronavirus, as according to the New York Post, a source familiar with the matter claimed that Ric Flair had tested positive for COVID-19 last Wednesday. Flair himself has refuted this claim, stating that is absolutely incorrect. Instead, he argued his wife, Wendy Barlow, has tested positive for COVID-19, but they have been living separately from one another in their 5,000 square foot home, where he lives in the basement and she lives upstairs on the 3rd floor to quarantine. But the whole situation was made more controversial when Flair was reportedly spotted making a Starbucks run without a mask on and handing cash to the worker. When the New York Post attempted to speak to Flair about the situation, he hung up the phone but continued to state over text message that his health is excellent. Subscribe to WrestleTalk for more daily wrestling videos, including me and Chopper Pete reviewing Raw live on the WrestleTalk podcast later today, where we'll also talk about the huge last-minute rewrites of WWE, why Apollo Crews has been missing from TV, and more. But now it's time for my review of last night's Raw in about 5 minutes. Seth Rollins opened the episode talking about how the visual of him extracting the eyeball of Rey Mysterio will stay with him for the rest of his life. Us too, Seth. It was rubbish. After explaining the medical terminology for Rey's injury being a globe luxation, which sounds like a premium travel brand, this episode is brought to you by Globe Luxation. Seth then started blaming you people, us fans, for making him this way, but now Mysterio is out of sight, nice pun, but also technically out of contract, Rollins can make Raw in his own image. Aleister Black stood up to Seth, starting a decent opener between the two, based on Rollins working over Aleister's right arm. Aleister valiantly fought back, very nearly even winning with a Black Mass, but Murphy interference eventually cost him. Seth and Murphy then beat up Black afterwards, playing up an injury angle for his arm, while Rollins screamed, "There's no one here to save him," but his Messiah. Thing is, there should be some people there to save him. Seth might have gotten rid of Ray, but there's still Humberto Carrillo and Kevin Owens. And where's Ray's son Dominic, who was a big part of the Eye for an Eye build? He's presumably being kept off TV as a bargaining chip in Mysterio's negotiations, but it makes for a messy, inconsistent story. Farouk then fist bumped with MVP and Lashley backstage. I don't know why he was there either. For Shelton Benjamin to beat R-Truth for the 24/7 title and join the Hurt Business as its latest executive. This led to a 6-man tag of MVP, Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin against Cedric Alexander, Ricochet, and who's the mystery third man, Wale? Maybe it's that third Uso. Nope, it's the drafted from SmackDown, presumably fully scrapping the hacker angle and getting his first name back. Mustafa Ali. Alexander was worked over for the first half of the match, Ricochet for the second, and then Ali did a torpedo-like dive on Lashley and hit an 054 on MVP to win. It's kind of poetic that there's so much diversity fighting for the United States Championship right now, but is it really diversity when it's all just shoved into one division? Farouk was backstage again talking to the Viking Raiders. Why are you here? You didn't even say damn. Billie Kay was missing from Peyton Royce's corner in the Ruby Riott match next, as the commentary team said she was dealing with other business. They've really given up on explaining why people aren't there at the moment. It seemed to hurt Royce as Riott won a short match with the Riott kick. Caruso alert! Andrade and Garza told Charlie how ready they are for the Street Profits, for the Profits to jump them. The Street Profits are now the longest running Raw Tag Team Champions ever, which is what happens when you're off TV for ages. And when you're on it, you just go bowling with the Viking Raiders. They had a decent match that was made memorable by Montez Ford's incredible mid-air direction-changing frog splash. It didn't go that long though, and it's another clean loss for Zelina Vega's gang of sexy men. They didn't even infight with each other to combust, and then we finally found out what's going on with the Raw Women's Championship. Kind of. Sasha Banks cut a really good in-ring promo saying that she actually fought for the Raw Women's title as opposed to Asuka, who was literally handed it by Becky Lynch. Bayley said she recognized all Sasha's efforts, so as a role model, she did the right thing and countered a pin. The best heels are the ones who have a point, and they now also have all the gold. It's funny how we don't mind that when it's not Charlotte. The Kabuki Warriors then came out for a fight, but they were stopped by the Zordon McMahon, whose pre-recorded presence was so strong, everyone stopped in their tracks. Stephanie explained that while Banks didn't legally win the title, Asuka never won the match, meaning Vacant is the champion. Congratulations, Vacant. I knew you could bounce back after you lost the TNA title on Saturday. Photo op me, Vacant. Photo op. Sadly, this doesn't make much sense. Asuka should still be the champion, and that confusion will undermine what they're ultimately trying to do: pop a rating for their decider match in 2 weeks. Kairi Sane then took on Bayley and shockingly won with a roll-up, especially considering this is reportedly one of her last TV appearances. Shayna Baszler was watching on backstage, positioning herself for the next Raw Women's program. Dolph Ziggler then tried to manipulate Drew McIntyre for one more title match, as he'd seen genuine fear in Drew's eyes. We've seen dumb babyface champions get tricked by this all the time, so it was really refreshing and incredibly badass when McIntyre simply answered, "I literally beat you 24 hours ago in a match where you picked the stipulation. Bugger off." But sadly, Drew doesn't have anyone else to fight right now, so the feud must continue. They'll have a rematch in 2 weeks' time where McIntyre gets to pick a mystery stipulation. An announcement that had someone in the crowd yell, "Eye for an eye." Even your own performance center recruits are heckling your product. And then came the unsanctioned main event, because WWE won't sanction a Big Show versus Randy Orton grudge match, but they will allow Rey Mysterio's eye to be literally pulled out. This was probably the weakest of Randy's legend killer runs so far, with the Christian angle being so much better. Big Show is big, sure, but he shouldn't be going back and forth with Orton in 2020. It was only Garza and Andrade jumping him early on that allowed Randy to get on top. Orton ended up winning with 2 RKOs and hit a pump post match because he isn't very nice, while someone brilliantly yelled from the crowd, take his eye. So that was this week's Raw in about 5 minutes. Let me know what you thought of the show in the comments down below, where I'll be replying to people from out of a random conversation with Farouk. Seriously, dude, why were you here? There was nothing terrible on this episode, but there wasn't anything standout either. The women's division continues to be the best thing by far in WWE, but everything else felt like it was treading water. This week's Raw is poor. It's T-Shirt Tuesday. Go to WrestleTalkMerch.com to fight against 2020's biggest heel, COVID-19, and get yourself a Dropkick Coronavirus T-shirt. Click on the image on screen now, or the merch shelf beneath this video to go there right away on what are the 10 biggest mistakes WWE ever made with John Cena. Click the video on the right to find out in Adam Blompier's latest list, and go over to watch WrestleTalk clips to watch highlights of our live Extreme Rules reactions by clicking the video beneath that. Subscribe for daily wrestling news. I've been Ollie Davis, and that was wrestling.